My uncle, Kevin Wildenhouse, is a sports psychologist for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he had told me once to do something where I would start at the end of a tournament and then kind of visualize it backwards. The 10K 6 max with the tournament I'm looking forward to all summer. I love to play 6 max. It's a lot more action. People play wider ranges, so it's more of a challenge. The morning of the 10K 6 max, I went out to Red Rock, did a hike, and when I got to the top, I did that for this tournament for around 20 minutes. I started the tournament about an hour late and ended up winning it, which was really crazy given that was the first time I had done something like that. I didn't tell him until the tournament finished, but when I told him, he said he got chills.
Poker is effectively my life.
It's an ace! There it is!
Poker players are the smartest on the field. Compassion is really a bad trait.
It's coming down to the last card. He has taken the title.
What a deserving champion. I have poker to thank. The game in itself has given me so many opportunities.
With over $8 million in career earnings, it's easy to see why the 2015 Global Poker Index Player of the Year, Byron Kaverman, is one of the most proficient and feared players in the world.
Byron's poker game is strong.
He plays tight, aggressive, until something changes.
Kind of has an offbeat style, and he really will sometimes find himself in the middle of hands where I'm not even sure he knows what he's up to.
You just never know if he has a good hand or not.
Aggressive, overbearing.
He takes just enough time to make you feel uneasy.
He puts a lot of pressure on people at the table.
He just goes to work.
He's everywhere. There's a very small group of poker players that are there at every event, playing every tournament, and he's one of them.
He's just about getting results. You look at his Hendon Mob profile, and all you see is cash after cash after cash after cash.
Really cool, down for anything, super humble, like you're never gonna hear him say anything about himself.
He doesn't want a whole lot of notoriety, you know, he wants to let his results kind of speak for themselves.
Byron's definitely gonna be known as one of the best poker players ever, and especially no limit hold'em tournaments.
When it comes down to winning or not winning, better watch out.
You don't want to play with Byron is what it amounts to.
I had a good time growing up in Fort Jennings. It's a very, very small town. No stoplights, no gas stations, but it's a community where everyone kind of knows each other. We're all like pretty close.
He was always super good at sports, very athletic. That's a very clear memory I have growing up.
When I was younger, I was playing everything, basketball, baseball, soccer, and then, you know, stuff on the water, tennis, golf.
As long as I can remember, we were always traveling for sports. A lot of people thought my parents were crazy. All the time and the weekends, the money, everything that they put into helping him live that childhood that he loved, you know, and that made him a happy kid.
As I got older, I made it a priority to focus on soccer. And to do that, I had to kind of give up basketball and some of the other stuff. When I was 9, I was at a camp some college coaches were putting it on. It was my first camp, my first experience doing something like that. And at the end of the week, one of the coaches approached my mom and he had some nice things to say about me. And then he invited me to guest play with his club team. And at the time, I didn't know what club soccer was, but you know, very, very excited for the opportunity.
He became that player that people started to fear. He just loved it. It was his passion. It was, I mean, that was his life.
I became a Liverpool fan when I was 13. Liverpool is kind of like a secondary city to London. And my team at the time was based out of Toledo, 4th or 5th largest city in Ohio. So we had that in common. When I would like kick around in the yard, I always dreamt of playing professionally.
But Byron's dream of one day playing soccer with the great clubs like Liverpool would change when he watched a movie on a summer vacation.
We were at my friend's lake house in Michigan. We were all just sitting around one night watching Rounders, and the next day we played with change. Everyone kind of, you know, had laying around. And the next 2 days, I think that's all we did. We forgot about the lake and just sat around the table and played cards. And then from there, when we went back to school, we played a lot, like after school and the weekends. That was just that was the thing to do. Poker really hit amongst my friends in the neighboring towns. My basement was one of the ones we'd play at most. We bought all the DVDs from like all of the past World Series. We would just watch those in our spare time. It was crazy. We were hooked.
Then from that point on, they just started teaching different friends, you know, how to do this, how to do that, what the rules were. I felt like every night of the week, if they didn't have soccer, they played cards in our basement or someone's basement, mostly ours. And it just kind of turned into this underground gaming room in our family's basement, you know.
While Byron and his friends were wrapped up in the poker craze, he kept his focus on his first love, soccer.
In high school, he took it as seriously as he possibly could. Byron was all-state, and then his senior year he was All-American, and then there was actually an awards ceremony.
Byron chose to play soccer for Tiffin University. He found the freedom of being a college student allowed him more time to play poker.
I'd go to class, I would have practice, after practice I would go back to the dorm and play online all night, and that was how most of my days would go. Poker it didn't really allow me to like be the best soccer player that I could because a lot of my attention was focused on that. Being a student athlete and then combining poker was difficult.
When I was probably in 8th grade, and at this time Byron's in college, I get to follow his tournaments. So I would pull up whatever he's in, and I'd see, okay, he's down to 27 people, and the winner gets $15,000. Well, that was a big deal. With time, it was just like the tournaments got bigger, the payouts got larger, the fields got bigger, and then it just seemed like he just started winning, and he'd win more and more and more.
I was playing the highest stakes tournaments online and doing relatively well. And I knew I could continue to do that and support myself and make good money. But actually, I never foresaw myself, doing it after school. The plan was grad school and go from there.
When Byron finished school, he moved to Cleveland to begin a business career. He also made the roster of a semi-professional soccer team.
It wasn't necessarily like me looking to, have a career in professional soccer. It was just something that I really wanted to do. I love the game, and I wanted to play, competitively as long as I could.
But when the coach didn't pick Byron to play the first game of the season, he began to rethink his priorities.
I wasn't happy. At the time, I was like kind of peaking. Like, I don't know, I put a lot of work in, and I was like, I should be playing this game. So I was like, I just kind of left for a week and didn't say anything. I never went back.
On a whim, Byron Kaverman decided to take a break from soccer to play in the 2011 PokerStars Caribbean Adventure.
The decision to go to the Bahamas was very last minute.
It would be a life-changing decision. All-American soccer player Byron Kaverman had the passion to make it to the elite levels of the game he loved. But when Byron made a last-minute decision to play in the PokerStars Caribbean Adventure, it would be the game of poker calling his name.
I decided to go to the PCA after not being picked for the first game of the season. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go down there and play these tournaments. On day one, I had a really good start, and I was very much in the zone. I was confident, I was just really feeling it.
I knew he was getting deep in it. I went to bed super late. I had school the next day, and then I woke up to a text from him that he had won.
Byron won the tournament. The payout was over $250,000, a life-changing sum.
And I told my parents, and we didn't know what to say. We were essentially speechless. I mean, this is beyond what we could have imagined. That was a major milestone for him.
My family was stoked. They couldn't believe it. It really was a life-defining moment. In the days after, I did some celebrating, and I stayed in the Bahamas and kind of thought about what my next move was. And after thinking it over and talking to friends, I decided it was too great of an opportunity to pass up, the opportunity to travel and play live tournaments.
Most young American players choose Las Vegas to start their poker career. But Byron decided that he would hit the tables on the European Poker Tour.
I decided to move to London, play online and some of the EPTs over there. One of my good friends from college was living there, and we got a place together. Didn't really have a conversation with my family about it, and just told them what I was going to do. Living in London was great. I love the city and the fact that soccer is so big there. When I was in Europe, I played EPT in Copenhagen and then EPT Snowfest in Austria, which I wish they still had, and a WPT in Vienna from there. I think just the experience of being in a new atmosphere, new cities, different cultures, all kinds of different types of people was what was best about my time over there. And just kind of taking it all in was what I really loved most.
Byron was now a professional poker player, living and working in Europe. His family back in Fort Jennings was concerned about Byron's new adventure in life.
After college, when he went to go on and start traveling, there was quite a bit of skepticism from my parents as far as, what is this? We come from a very rural, conservative community or area, that we grew up in.
Byron soon found that being a professional poker player is a grind. And he found that winning did not come often or easy.
I had a big gap around 2011, 2012. All right.
Want to see it?
Where I went on big downswings. But even during those times, I had a couple real close calls where if one hand goes different, I likely would have had a big score. To be honest, during those times, I wasn't really putting too much effort into studying or getting better. And then kind of later on, after meeting some other people who I could tell were doing different things, I opened my mind to how to play best. At that point, I started putting a lot more effort into studying off the table.
Much like he did with soccer in his youth, Byron dedicated himself to poker. He found that all those years of athletic training could help him at the table.
I think there are a lot of similarities between sports and poker, and I think it's more relevant in soccer. Just like poker and soccer, you have to be methodical. Like they say, the best players are thinking 7 passes ahead. They see the game develop before it does, and that's definitely the case in poker too. When you go into a flop and call a bet or check, you kind of have a plan for how the hand's going to go, and then you just adapt according to what cards come out.
He's just a competitor, he has that in his blood. He wants to win. If you watch him at the table, he's very locked in. He's not messing around on his phone. He's there to play poker and win. Athletes or poker players say that they're in the moment. I think he's just, when he gets dealt a poker hand, he's going to try to play it. He's going to think through his decisions and try to play it to the best of his ability.
And that is what attracts athletes and people who come from this background of pushing themselves to be the best that they can be. If you don't have that drive, if you don't have that voice in your head that says that you not only need to, should be better than everybody else at the table, that drives you, then you're gonna get eaten up.
It would turn out to be Byron who would dominate the competition, while proving he is one of the best no-limit hold'em players in the world. Byron Kaverman exploded onto the scene after winning at the PokerStars Caribbean Adventure. But he realized that being a poker pro would take the same hard work and discipline of a professional athlete. This dedication would prove true when he won his first World Series of Poker bracelet in the summer of 2015.
After the summer, the plan was to play Barcelona and then kind of chill, and then only play the WPT in Vegas in December. Had a few good cashes, and I think a week later I realized that I jumped quite a bit in the Player of the Year, which is something I hadn't looked at up until that point. And I thought about it for a day or two, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do my best to win this, and just completely changed my schedule.
And then as we got into the third quarter of the year, towards the fourth quarter of the year, I kind of asked, you gonna be around anytime soon, around home or anything? And he said, I'm working on a GPI Player of the Year, so I'm gonna be playing as much as I possibly can to try to make sure I achieve this award. I mean, he did not take a break from playing any tournaments.
The last 2 months of the year, went to Europe, Vegas, Florida, Prague, Vegas. Things were crazy, and I was exhausted.
When his mind is set on something, he's not going to stop until he gets there.
It's very interesting to see that a lot of athletes become good poker players. And I believe it's in the genes of the guys because they're like competitors and they want to win, they want to win, they want to win.
I was putting all my time and effort and energy into poker. I wasn't really doing anything else.
Had a great year already, actually won over $500,000 playing poker this year so far.
The higher Byron finished in the tournaments, the further up he moved on the Global Poker Index.
I knew what place I needed in order to take the lead, but I just tuned it out and focused on the tournament and winning it and hoped the results would speak for themselves.
Throughout 2015, I knew what was going on. I'd follow the rankings. You know, he'll text me when he's getting deep in a tournament or when things are going well in a tournament. So I was always checking the rankings to see where points were at or the players that were also real close to him.
When you are in the top 5 of GPI and you have to fight against these guys to win it, it shows that the tenacity, it shows the characters of the players, and they just want to win.
Byron, he just made a game plan, showed up everywhere at the end of the year, played all the time, and ultimately made it happen.
As the New Year's Ball came down on 2015, Byron Kaverman was named Card Player of the Year.
You know, it wasn't easy, but he deserved it.
Winning the Player of the Year meant a lot to me. By making it a goal and then actually getting there was very fulfilling.
It was really cool to see Byron named Player of the Year. He's such an awesome guy.
I could definitely say I was quite exhausted come at the end of December.
Byron learned that being named Poker Player of the Year does come with some benefits, like living out a childhood dream. By 2015, Byron Kaverman used his athletic background and poker skills to win the Global Poker Index Player of the Year. Needing a break from poker, he found the chance to play with his favorite soccer club of his youth, but not in the way he expected.
I was doing a vacation in Europe for about a month, just going to a bunch of places that I hadn't been, and one of them was Liverpool. So the day of the game, actually, I was flying to Liverpool, and I didn't have any tickets. I texted a friend that I played with in college, asking if he had any hookups for tickets. My friend introduced me to someone who works for the club. We ended up going to Lucas Leiva's house, and I played poker with he and Philip Coutinho and a group of others, and had a great time. They're really nice guys. Playing poker with those guys was awesome. I'm a big fan, I watch all the games, but just kind of hanging out, having a good time, talking about poker, soccer, whatever else. It was a blast.
I'm sure when he was in Liverpool playing with those soccer players, playing cards with them, not only is he admiring those guys for where they're at in their careers with soccer, but there's probably admiration from their end. You know, we're playing poker with who was the guy that was Player of the Year last year. The similar interests that they share each way, you know, or one is their career and one's their passion.
Even though Byron has probably idolized those guys, I'm sure that they were equally as excited to play with the best poker player in the world.
Byron still stays heavily involved in soccer, including an annual event held during the World Series of Poker every summer.
Tim Adams came up with the idea of having a World Cup of soccer and having a tournament where groups of poker players from respective countries would enter, and we'd play the actual tournament out. So we rented out the facility on July 4th, 2 fields for the day, and hosted a tournament, and it was a blast. We ended up winning, but it was a thrilling victory. We beat Brazil in the last 3 seconds of the game.
It's really important to have balance in your life when you're playing poker. Byron definitely has soccer. Whenever he's talking about it, you can see how much he loves it. He's definitely got that passion, and he still seems to be great at it, so I'm happy for him.
Since his Player of the Year award, Byron has enjoyed a more relaxed poker schedule to spend more time with family and maybe get in a little more soccer.
I go back to Fort Jennings relatively often. You know, I need to visit friends and family every month or so.
He really likes to get back home, Byron does, as much as he can to see my parents, and especially our dog Champ. When we first got our dog Champ, he was around home at that time, so he started playing soccer with the dog when she was a pup. So they're soccer buddies. Champ just idolizes my brother as a soccer player. So they're always out in the yard kicking the ball around. So that's always our joke. He comes home to see Champ, not us. He's going to be remembered for that Player of the Year and being #1 in the GPI in 2015. I always had it in my mind that with time, he would get involved with soccer, like maybe manage a club where it would be a full-time job, and start to then go back towards soccer as his original passion.
My immediate future is focused primarily on poker. Things are doing well for the most part. I'm going to continue doing this, and hopefully it continues to go the same way. Down the road, I want to get back into soccer and do some coaching. But for now, yeah, solely focused on poker.